The sun was climbing steadily into the sky, casting long shadows over the shooting range, but it did little to warm the chill that had settled in Emma's chest. She shifted her fingers nervously on the grip of her borrowed handgun, feeling the cold metal press against her palm. Today had been one of those days where everything seemed to go wrong from the very beginning. She had woken up late, spilled coffee over her favorite jacket, and even missed the bus that would have taken her closer to the range. Somehow, despite all the small disasters, she had made it here. And yet, as she walked past groups of men who eyed her with barely concealed disdain, she felt smaller than ever, like an intruder in a world that seemed to belong only to them. Emma had always been determined, though. She had grown up in a small town where dreams of joining the military had been laughed at by many, especially girls. Her father had tried to support her ambitions, telling her that determination was far more important than gender, but after his passing, the encouragement had vanished into the empty rooms of her childhood home. So here she was, alone, with nothing but a rented rifle and a heart full of hope that maybe, just maybe, someone would see her potential. The range was crowded, alive with the sounds of gunfire echoing off the distant hills. Men and women, most of them seasoned shooters, moved with confidence and ease that Emma envied. She had watched them from the sidelines for months before she even dared pick up a firearm herself. The instructors barely acknowledged her as she signed in, their eyes flicking past her as though she were invisible. She felt her cheeks burn with a mixture of embarrassment and frustration. It wasn't that she expected special treatment, far from it, but the complete disregard for her presence made her stomach churn. She positioned herself at an empty station near the far edge of the range, hoping that solitude would allow her to focus. She checked the safety on her rifle, the clicks and clacks sounding unnaturally loud in the quiet before the first volley of shots began. Emma's hands shook slightly, not from fear but from anticipation. She had been practicing her breathing for weeks, trying to calm the whirlwind of nerves that always accompanied her first shots of the day. This was more than a test of skill, it was a test of her resolve, of her right to even be here. The first few rounds went poorly. The rifle kicked harder than she remembered from her last practice session, and her shots scattered across the target. She bit her lip, refusing to let the frustration win, forcing herself to focus on her stance, her grip, her breathing. The instructors continued their rounds of correction with other shooters, their voices distant and unhelpful. Emma's determination hardened. She had spent countless hours reading manuals, watching tutorials, and even analyzing the techniques of some of the best marksmen she could find online. Every drop of knowledge, every minute of practice, she thought, had led her to this moment. Yet, she still felt the invisible barrier separating her from the others, an unspoken assumption that she did not belong. She was aware that some of the men whispered among themselves, glances flicking her way with an air of judgment. Emma's jaw tightened. She was tired of being underestimated, tired of the assumption that because she was quiet and polite she was weak. Then he arrived. Lieutenant Marcus Hale, a Navy SEAL with a reputation that preceded him, strode onto the range with a calm confidence that seemed to command attention without demanding it. The other shooters straightened, some nervously, some in awe, as he moved along the line, inspecting the stations with a practiced eye. Emma noticed him only peripherally at first, too absorbed in correcting her aim, when a voice suddenly cut through her concentration. "Your grip is off." She froze, looking up, and for the first time all morning she felt acknowledged. Marcus's presence was commanding, but there was something in his tone that was not judgmental, not dismissive. It was matter-of-fact, precise, yet encouraging. He knelt beside her, adjusting her stance with hands that were firm but careful, correcting the position of her elbows and the angle of her shoulders. Emma's heart raced, but not from fear. This was the kind of instruction she had dreamed of receiving. "Breathe with the rifle, not against it. Let it become an extension of your body," he said, and she nodded, swallowing the lump of nerves in her throat. She had heard these words in videos, in books, but hearing them now, spoken with authority and experience, changed everything. Marcus handed her a new rifle, one of the advanced models the SEALs trained with, and instructed her to try again. The weight was unfamiliar, the balance different, but his calm presence steadied her. She inhaled, exhaled, and squeezed the trigger. The bullet hit closer to the center than any she had achieved before, and a surge of pride filled her chest. Marcus nodded, not with condescension but with recognition. "Better," he said simply. The simplicity of the word carried more weight than any praise she had ever received. Emma adjusted, shot again, each time gaining confidence, each time proving to herself that the effort, the persistence, the years of preparation were not wasted. Around them, the noise of the range seemed to fade, the other shooters blurring into the background. For the first time she felt seen. For the first time, the invisible walls that had surrounded her confidence began to crumble. As the morning turned into afternoon, Emma and Marcus worked together, moving through drills and exercises that pushed her skills to their limits. She learned how to maintain control under stress, how to adjust her stance dynamically, and how to anticipate the rifle's recoil. Each correction, each word of advice, was a lesson in both skill and self-belief. Emma realized that her struggle wasn't just with the rifle or the targets. It was with the doubt that had been seeded in her mind by years of being underestimated. Every time she hit the target dead center, she felt a little more ownership over her own potential. Marcus watched her silently at times, his eyes sharp but approving, letting her take the lead while subtly guiding her corrections. Emma began to see a pattern, a rhythm that was more than mechanical. It was mental, emotional, and physical all at once, and she was finally learning to synchronize all three. By late afternoon, Emma had transformed. She had moved from hesitant, self-conscious shots to confident, precise strikes on the target. Other shooters had begun to notice, some looking on with surprise, others with grudging respect. Marcus stepped back, letting her continue on her own, and she realized she was no longer relying on his presence to validate her. The internal voice that had always questioned her worth was quieter now, subdued by evidence of her own ability. She felt powerful, competent, and proud, not because of recognition from others, but because she had proven to herself that she belonged. The range was still noisy, chaotic even, but Emma felt an inner calm, a focused energy that made her feel untouchable in a sense she had never experienced. As the day drew to a close, Marcus approached her one final time, offering a hand of acknowledgement rather than instruction. "You have potential," he said, and Emma felt the weight of that statement sink in. It wasn't casual praise. It wasn't the fleeting approval of a stranger. It was recognition from someone who knew the stakes, someone who had seen countless people falter under pressure, and yet saw her rise. Emma smiled, a genuine, unguarded smile, feeling tears prick the corners of her eyes. She had started the day ignored, invisible, doubted at every turn. Now she felt seen, respected, and most importantly, she believed in herself in a way she never had before. The following morning, Emma woke before dawn, her mind still buzzing from the breakthroughs of the previous day. She had replayed Marcus's instructions in her head, every adjustment, every piece of advice, and every encouraging word that had managed to pierce through the fog of self-doubt she had carried for so long. Today she told herself she wouldn't merely practice, she would push beyond what she thought was possible. The crisp air outside carried the scent of pine and earth as she walked to the range, her rifle carefully slung across her back, each step echoing with purpose. She noticed the other shooters glancing at her as she passed, some whispering, some simply nodding acknowledgement, but she barely registered it. Her focus was singular, she had work to do and nothing would distract her from it. As she reached her station, she realized that the early morning had brought a quiet calm over the range. The usual clamor of voices and gunfire was absent, replaced with the soft whir of targets resetting and the distant chirping of birds. Emma felt a wave of tranquility wash over her. She set up her equipment methodically, checking the rifle, aligning the sights, and adjusting her stance just as Marcus had taught her. This wasn't just about accuracy, it was about discipline, control, and synchronization of mind and body. She inhaled deeply, allowing the morning air to fill her lungs, and exhaled, releasing the tension that had built up over months of doubt. Each breath felt like a statement, a declaration that she was present, capable, and ready. The hours she had spent studying and training were no longer theoretical. They were tangible, embodied in the way she held herself and the rifle. Marcus arrived shortly thereafter, his presence calm yet commanding. He didn't speak immediately, merely observing as Emma began her first round of practice. She noted his quiet scrutiny, the subtle adjustments he made with his eyes, how he watched her posture, her grip, and her focus. Emma felt a flicker of nervousness, but it quickly transformed into determination. She had learned that fear was not a signal to retreat, but an invitation to rise above. With each shot, she felt herself settling into a rhythm, her body intuitively compensating for recoil, adjusting for wind, and anticipating movement. The targets seemed to blur and sharpen simultaneously, as if her mind were filtering distractions and isolating only the essentials. By the time she paused to reload, her arms burned slightly, her heart raced, but she felt a profound sense of mastery that transcended physical exertion. Marcus finally spoke, his voice low and measured. "You're improving faster than most beginners. But potential isn't just about hitting targets. It's about awareness, adaptability, and mental resilience. Today we'll test all three." He handed her a set of instructions detailing a series of exercises that mimicked scenarios Navy SEALs faced: moving targets, rapid adjustments, and sequences designed to challenge both precision and speed. Emma's pulse quickened. This was the first time she felt she was truly being tested, not in a classroom, not with theory, but in a real, demanding environment where skill and focus were the only things that mattered. She nodded to Marcus, absorbing every detail, every nuance of the instructions, and then began the exercises with meticulous attention. The first round was brutal. Targets moved erratically, the sequence changed unpredictably, and the timing forced her to react instinctively rather than think consciously. Emma's muscles tensed, her mind raced, but she forced herself to breathe, to maintain composure, to treat each movement as deliberate rather than reactive. Mistakes came, of course, shots missed, timing faltered, but she analyzed each error quickly, adjusting her stance, her grip, and her focus. Marcus stayed close, occasionally offering a word of advice or a minor correction, but mostly letting her navigate the challenges independently. With every passing minute, Emma felt her confidence swell. She realized that her previous limitations had been not in skill but in belief. Now, with the challenges pressing her to the edge, she discovered reserves of resilience she hadn't known existed. By midday, Emma was moving fluidly through the exercises. She anticipated target movements, adjusted for speed and distance, and began hitting sequences that had initially seemed impossible. Her mind and body were in sync, every action deliberate, every decision informed by both instinct and training. Marcus watched silently, occasionally nodding with subtle approval, but giving her the space to claim her victories independently. Other shooters on the range began to notice her precision and speed, some exchanging impressed glances, others quietly acknowledging that she had become more than just a beginner. She had become a competitor, capable of holding her own even under intense scrutiny. For Emma, this recognition, though gratifying, was secondary to the internal satisfaction of surpassing her own expectations. As the exercises intensified, Marcus introduced a final challenge: a simulated high-stress scenario designed to test composure under pressure. Alarms blared, targets appeared unpredictably, and the requirement was not just accuracy but rapid decision-making under physical and mental strain. Emma's heart raced, her palms were slick with sweat, but she found a strange clarity in the chaos. She moved with purpose, adjusting instinctively, trusting her training, and maintaining an almost meditative focus despite the sensory overload. Shot after shot hit its mark, each one a confirmation of progress, of mastery over fear, of a mind sharpened by discipline. When the final alarm sounded, signaling the end of the scenario, Emma lowered her rifle and exhaled slowly, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration that left her both drained and energized. Marcus approached her once more, his expression composed yet unmistakably approving. "You've come a long way," he said. "What you did today wasn't just about skill. It was about proving to yourself that you're capable of handling pressure, adapting, and persevering. That's the mark of someone who can go far, far beyond what most would expect." Emma felt her chest tighten, a rush of gratitude and pride mingling with a new awareness of potential she hadn't dared imagine. The day had started with uncertainty, with doubt, with the fear of being overlooked, and yet she had ended it with clarity, confidence, and the undeniable sense that she was no longer invisible. As she packed her equipment and prepared to leave the range, Emma glanced back at the targets, the rifles, and the empty stations around her. The sunlight now fell at a sharper angle, illuminating the edges of the range in golden warmth. She realized that she had not just improved her aim or technique, she had transformed her mindset. The invisible barriers that had defined her limitations were crumbling, replaced by a burgeoning belief in her own capability. With Marcus's guidance and her own perseverance, Emma understood that she was capable of far more than she had ever imagined. As she walked toward the exit, her steps were steady, her head held high, and her heart full of the quiet, powerful satisfaction of someone who had finally begun to claim her place in a world that had once ignored her. The next day dawned humid and gray, the clouds hanging low over the range as if reflecting Emma's mix of anticipation and nerves. She arrived earlier than usual, carrying her rifle carefully across her shoulder, each step deliberate, each movement purposeful. The previous 2 days had been a revelation, showing her the gap between doubt and capability, between inexperience and mastery. Yet today felt different. Today would be the first day she would train alongside the most advanced shooters on the range, including some of the instructors themselves. The thought made her stomach tighten with a familiar blend of excitement and anxiety, but she reminded herself of Marcus's words. Potential was proven under pressure, not in comfort. She breathed deeply, centering herself, and approached her assigned station, the rifle cold but reassuring in her grip. As the session began, Emma quickly realized that the challenge would be unlike anything she had faced before. Targets appeared at unpredictable distances, some partially obscured, others moving at irregular speeds. The other shooters, seasoned and confident, moved with a precision that seemed almost mechanical, their rifles tracking every motion with practiced ease. Emma felt a pang of intimidation, a reminder of how far she had yet to go, but she forced herself to focus. She reminded herself that comparison was irrelevant. Today was about her growth, her skills, her ability to rise to a challenge. She positioned herself, aligned her sight, and took her first shot. The recoil jolted her, but she absorbed it, adjusting instinctively, her focus sharpening with every trigger pull. Marcus approached quietly, observing her movements without interrupting. His presence was steadying, a silent reminder of both guidance and expectation. "Remember," he said low enough for only her to hear, "control is not about rigidity. It's about adaptability. Let the rifle respond to you and respond to the environment. Anticipate, don't react." Emma nodded, internalizing his advice. She moved through the exercises, her mind calculating distances, speed, and trajectory, while her body executed flawlessly. Each shot she took built upon the last, a rhythm forming that was as much mental as it was physical. She began to feel a unity with the rifle, a sense that it was an extension of herself rather than a separate tool, and with that understanding came an extraordinary precision that startled even her. By mid-morning, Emma had begun to attract attention. The instructors exchanged glances, some nodding subtly, while the other shooters observed her technique with quiet curiosity. She felt a surge of pride but quickly tempered it, focusing instead on maintaining her form and timing. The range's noise, the repeated cracks of gunfire, the hum of moving targets, faded into the background, replaced by a singular clarity. Emma's movements became instinctive. Her mind was calculating but calm, predicting target shifts, anticipating angles, and adjusting her stance almost without thought. Every correction Marcus had given her in previous sessions resurfaced naturally, and she realized she no longer needed to consciously remind herself of them. They had become ingrained, part of her muscle memory and mindset. Then came the obstacle drill, a component designed to test endurance, precision, and adaptability simultaneously. Shooters were required to navigate a course, taking shots from unconventional positions, kneeling, prone, and even while moving quickly through a series of barricades. Emma's muscles burned immediately as she sprinted from one station to the next, her rifle swinging in rhythm with her motion, every shot requiring perfect balance and timing. Sweat slicked her palms and her legs trembled from exertion, but she refused to falter. Every missed target was a lesson. Every successful hit was a victory that reinforced the progress she had made. Marcus occasionally called out adjustments, subtle tweaks that enhanced efficiency without breaking her momentum. By the end of the course, Emma was panting, her body exhausted, but her mind was sharper than ever. She had pushed beyond fatigue, beyond doubt, and had emerged with a sense of accomplishment that was both physical and deeply emotional. As the session continued, Marcus introduced a new element, the element of unpredictability. Targets would now appear with delays, some in unexpected locations, some accompanied by distractions meant to test focus under pressure. Emma's heart raced as the first sequence began. She had to make rapid decisions while maintaining absolute precision. Her mind worked like a finely tuned engine, calculating angles, distance, and timing while her body executed flawlessly. She realized that fear and doubt, which had plagued her for so long, were now replaced by a steady confidence born of preparation and perseverance. Every hit on target became not just a measure of skill, but a declaration that she could thrive in environments designed to challenge even the most experienced shooters. By late afternoon, Emma had not only completed the exercises but had excelled, achieving accuracy and consistency that surprised even Marcus. He approached her with an approving nod, his eyes reflecting a mixture of respect and recognition. "You've developed more than just skill," he said. "You've built resilience, adaptability, and focus. What you've shown today is proof that you belong in this environment, that your potential isn't limited by expectation or circumstance." Emma's chest swelled with emotion, a mixture of pride, relief, and gratitude. She realized that the journey wasn't over, far from it, but for the first time she felt truly confident in her ability to continue growing, to face challenges, and to assert herself in a world that had once ignored her. As the range quieted and shooters began packing up, Emma lingered for a moment, reflecting on the progress she had made. The rifle felt like an extension of her body, the course of exercises no longer intimidating, and the presence of Marcus no longer a crutch but a guide who had helped her unlock her own capabilities. She understood now that recognition and respect were earned through persistence and skill, yes, but also through belief in oneself. For the first time she felt a quiet, unshakable confidence. The journey that had begun with doubt and invisibility had transformed her into someone capable, resilient, and determined, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with focus, courage, and an unyielding sense of self. The following morning, the sky was painted with streaks of pink and orange, the kind of sunrise that felt almost symbolic, as if nature itself was acknowledging a new beginning. Emma arrived at the range, her rifle once again slung across her shoulder, but today felt heavier, not physically but emotionally. She carried with her the lessons of the past 3 days: precision, focus, resilience, and the unwavering belief that she could excel. But today Marcus had something different in mind. "We're going to take everything you've learned and test it under conditions you've never faced before," he told her, his voice steady but edged with intensity. Emma's pulse quickened, a mix of anticipation and excitement coursing through her veins. She knew this was the moment to see if all her training could hold up when pushed to the extreme. Marcus led her to a section of the range she had never trained on before. Unlike the orderly lanes she was used to, this area was rugged, uneven, and cluttered with obstacles that would challenge balance, precision, and adaptability simultaneously. Targets were scattered at various heights and distances, some partially hidden, others moving unpredictably. Emma's first instinct was to survey the environment, analyzing angles, possible cover, and lines of sight. Her mind raced, but instead of panicking, she felt a strange clarity. The lessons from previous days, patience, calculation, and trust in her instincts, coalesced, forming a calm focus that steadied her hands and sharpened her vision. This wasn't just about shooting, it was about situational awareness, decision-making under pressure, and mental resilience, all under the watchful eyes of Marcus and the other advanced shooters who had gathered to observe. The exercise began, and Emma immediately realized how different it was from anything she had done before. Targets popped up unexpectedly, some behind barriers, some partially obscured by trees and debris, forcing her to adjust quickly. Her body moved almost instinctively, kneeling behind a mound of dirt, shifting sideways to gain a better angle, all while keeping her sights aligned and trigger control steady. Sweat dripped down her forehead, but she barely noticed it. Her focus was absolute. Marcus's occasional guidance came in the form of subtle gestures or short, precise instructions, never disrupting her rhythm, allowing her to navigate the challenges largely on her own. Each successful hit was a surge of confidence, reinforcing the growing belief that she was capable of far more than she had imagined. As the course progressed, the challenges increased. Emma had to transition rapidly between targets, some appearing for only a fraction of a second before disappearing. Her mind worked at an extraordinary pace, calculating distances, timing, and trajectories, while her body executed flawlessly. She noticed the other shooters watching intently, some exchanging impressed glances, but she forced herself not to be distracted. This was no longer about recognition, it was about mastery, about pushing herself to her limits and discovering what she was truly capable of. Her confidence grew with every successful shot, but so did her awareness of the areas where she could improve. Each mistake, each missed target, was analyzed and corrected in real time, sharpening both her technique and her mind. By midday, Emma had become fully immersed in the flow of the exercise. Her movements were fluid, precise, and almost effortless. She felt a profound connection with the rifle, as if it were an extension of her body, responding instantly to her commands. Her focus was unbroken, her breathing steady, and her mind fully attuned to the rhythm of the course. Marcus observed silently, occasionally nodding in approval, but mostly allowing her to operate independently. The sense of accomplishment that had begun to grow within her was now intertwined with a deeper awareness. She was not just performing well, she was transforming. The invisible barriers of doubt and insecurity that had held her back for years were crumbling, replaced by an unshakable belief in her abilities and potential. The final challenge of the day was the most demanding. Emma had to complete a complex sequence of movements while hitting a series of moving and hidden targets under a strict time limit. The course required her to sprint, crouch, and adjust constantly, testing both her physical stamina and mental acuity. Her muscles screamed with exertion, her heart pounded violently, but she pushed forward relentlessly. Every shot counted, every movement had to be precise, and every decision required instantaneous calculation. Despite the intensity, Emma felt a surprising calmness, an almost meditative focus that allowed her to anticipate and adapt with remarkable accuracy. She was no longer reacting, she was controlling, leading and mastering the course with a combination of skill, intuition and determination. When the final buzzer sounded, signaling the completion of the exercise, Emma lowered her rifle slowly, her body trembling with fatigue but her mind soaring with exhilaration. Marcus approached, a rare smile breaking across his usually composed face. "Emma, what you accomplished today isn't just skill, it's transformation. You've taken every lesson, every challenge, every doubt and turned them into strength. That's the mark of someone who can excel not just here but anywhere." Emma's chest tightened with emotion. The journey she had begun as someone invisible, overlooked and uncertain had brought her to this point, confident, skilled and unafraid. She realized that the recognition she had once sought externally was now irrelevant. She had proven to herself that she was capable, resilient and unstoppable. As she packed up her rifle and prepared to leave the range, Emma felt a profound sense of accomplishment and clarity. The journey had been grueling, filled with doubt, struggle and relentless practice, but it had forged her into someone she had never imagined she could become. The sun, now fully risen, illuminated the range with warm light, casting long shadows that seemed to mirror her growth. Emma walked away from the course with her head held high, each step firm and purposeful. She understood now that this was only the beginning, that her potential was limitless, and that with focus, perseverance and belief in herself, she could achieve far more than she had ever dreamed. The invisible barriers of yesterday were gone, replaced by a newfound strength and an unwavering sense of self, and for the first time in her life, Emma truly felt unstoppable. The next morning, Emma awoke with a mixture of excitement and determination pulsing through her veins. Her body still ached from the previous day's grueling exercises, but the soreness was almost comforting, a reminder that she had pushed herself further than ever before. Today, Marcus had promised, would test not just her physical skill, but her mental strength and strategic thinking, forcing her to operate at a level that demanded complete mastery over both rifle and mind. Emma packed her gear meticulously, checking her rifle, ammunition and safety equipment, each action deliberate and precise. There was a sense of ritual in these preparations, a grounding force that steadied her nerves and sharpened her focus. She knew that today would be different. Today would be the true test of how far she had come, how much she had grown, and whether she could perform when nothing was certain, when the environment was unpredictable, and when pressure threatened to overwhelm. As she arrived at the range, Marcus greeted her with a quiet nod. His expression held a mixture of seriousness and encouragement, the kind that always reminded her to trust herself. "We're going beyond routine drills today," he said. "You're going to face scenarios designed to simulate real operational unpredictability. Your task is to adapt, decide, and act with precision, even when conditions are not in your favor." Emma's pulse quickened, but her confidence remained intact. She had spent days honing her focus, perfecting her control, and cultivating resilience. The fear that had once plagued her was no longer present. It had been replaced by determination, skill, and a clear sense of purpose. She nodded silently, gripping her rifle with a steady hand, ready to face whatever challenges Marcus had designed. The first sequence began immediately. Targets appeared at varying distances, some moving erratically, others hidden partially behind cover that required rapid adjustment in stance and aim. Emma's instincts kicked in. She crouched, shifted sideways and fired with precision, her breathing controlled, her mind calculating angles, timing and trajectory simultaneously. Every shot was deliberate, every movement purposeful. She felt a fluid connection between body and rifle, a harmony that allowed her to anticipate target behavior and adapt almost instinctively. The other shooters watched, some in admiration, some in quiet disbelief, as Emma navigated the complex course with grace and efficiency. Marcus observed from a distance, noting subtle improvements in her form, the natural flow of her movements, and the unwavering clarity of her focus. Midway through the course, Marcus introduced a surprise element, a series of distractions intended to challenge Emma's concentration. Loud noises, shifting obstacles, and sudden changes in target positions created a chaotic environment that would have overwhelmed a less experienced shooter. Emma, however, remained calm. She adjusted, adapted, and focused on her immediate objectives. Every shot that found its mark reinforced her confidence, and every challenge she overcame reminded her that she was no longer defined by doubt or hesitation. The obstacles, once intimidating, became opportunities to demonstrate skill, resilience, and adaptability. Her muscles burned, her heart raced, but she moved with a rhythm and clarity that was almost hypnotic. The rifle felt like an extension of herself, responding instantly to her commands, translating her mental calculations into precise, controlled action. As the exercise grew increasingly complex, Emma's endurance was tested. She had to navigate steep inclines, crouch behind barriers, and execute shots at targets that appeared and disappeared within seconds. Every action demanded mental acuity, rapid decision-making, and unwavering focus. She felt fatigue creeping in, but she refused to let it dictate her performance. She reminded herself of the progress she had made over the past days, the moments when she had doubted herself, the times when others had ignored her potential, and the small victories that had built her confidence. All of it culminated in this moment, allowing her to operate with a level of precision and composure that amazed even her. The chaos of the course became a backdrop for her skill, highlighting not her struggles, but her mastery and growth. By late afternoon, Emma had completed the course with remarkable accuracy and efficiency. Every target had been engaged with precision, every movement executed with calculated skill, and every obstacle navigated successfully. Marcus approached her, a rare smile gracing his usually stern features. "Emma," he said, his voice steady but filled with admiration, "what you've done today isn't just shooting. It's strategy, adaptability, mental strength, and control. You've demonstrated mastery over not only your weapon but over yourself. That's the mark of someone capable of extraordinary achievements." Emma felt a surge of pride and relief. The journey that had started with doubt, invisibility, and hesitation had led her here, to a place of recognition, self-assurance, and undeniable skill. She realized that her growth was not just measured in accuracy or strength, but in her resilience, her focus, and her ability to rise above challenges that would have once overwhelmed her. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the range, Emma stood quietly, reflecting on the journey she had undertaken. Each challenge, each failure, and each success had contributed to the person she was becoming. She understood now that skill alone was not enough. Discipline, focus, and belief in oneself were equally vital. The obstacles she had faced were not merely physical. They were tests of her mindset, her determination, and her willingness to persist when the outcome was uncertain. Emma felt a profound sense of accomplishment, a recognition that her journey was far from over, but that she now possessed the tools, the confidence, and the resilience to face any challenge. Packing up her rifle, Emma felt a sense of calm satisfaction. She had proven to herself that she was capable, that her potential was limitless, and that persistence, discipline, and belief in one's abilities could transform doubt into mastery. The range, once a place of intimidation and uncertainty, now felt familiar, almost comforting. The journey ahead would still hold challenges, but Emma was ready. She walked away with a quiet confidence, each step a reflection of the progress she had made and the person she was becoming. In that moment, she understood that true strength was not measured by recognition from others, but by the unwavering belief in oneself, the courage to persevere, and the mastery of both mind and body. She was no longer the person who had once been ignored. She was capable, resilient, and unstoppable. The morning air was crisp and sharp, carrying the scent of pine and earth as Emma arrived at the range. Today felt different from the previous days, calm yet charged with anticipation, as if the environment itself sensed the culmination of her hard work. Marcus was waiting, his posture composed, his eyes reflecting the same intensity and focus he always carried. "Today," he said, "we're going to test not just your skill and adaptability, but your endurance under prolonged challenge. This will be a combination of everything you've learned: precision, speed, situational awareness, and mental resilience. You will be pushed further than before, and how you respond will define your growth." Emma's heart raced with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. She had trained for this moment, built herself up through repetition, focus, and perseverance. Today would show her not only how far she had come, but how far she could still go. The course that Marcus set up was unlike anything Emma had experienced before. It stretched across uneven terrain with natural obstacles, rocks, fallen branches, and shallow trenches, interspersed with man-made targets that varied in size, distance, and difficulty. Some targets required precise calculation to hit from awkward angles, while others moved unpredictably, simulating a realistic and chaotic environment. Emma scanned the range, taking note of distances, cover points, and potential obstacles. Her body tingled with anticipation, but her mind was calm, centered, and fully present. She understood that success would depend not only on physical skill but on the ability to maintain focus and composure under constant pressure. The exercise began immediately. Emma advanced, crouching behind rocks and using trees for cover, her rifle steady in her hands. The first set of targets appeared at medium range, and she engaged them with methodical precision. Her breathing was controlled, her movements deliberate, and her mental calculations precise. As she advanced, obstacles forced her to shift her stance, adjust her aim, and think quickly. She found herself moving almost instinctively, every action flowing naturally into the next. Her earlier days of hesitation and doubt had vanished, replaced by confidence, clarity, and an acute awareness of her surroundings. Each successful shot reinforced her belief in herself, but she knew the real challenge lay ahead. Marcus then increased the intensity. Targets appeared unpredictably, some hidden behind barriers, others partially obscured by terrain. He introduced sudden distractions, noises mimicking gunfire, moving dummies, and simulated environmental challenges like sudden gusts of wind or low-visibility areas. Emma's focus was tested like never before. Her hands remained steady, her mind calculating trajectories, wind influence, and timing with remarkable accuracy. The fatigue in her legs and arms was palpable, yet she pressed forward, understanding that perseverance was as important as skill. Each moment demanded her full attention, and she felt a deep satisfaction as she navigated the increasingly complex course with determination and poise. Hours passed, and the sun rose higher, casting harsh light and deep shadows across the rugged terrain. Emma's endurance was being tested relentlessly. She had to sprint to distant cover, crouch and crawl under barriers, and fire accurately while off balance or moving. The combination of physical exertion and mental calculation was grueling, but she embraced it. Every challenge she overcame was a reminder of how far she had come. Where she had once been ignored, dismissed, or unsure of herself, she now moved with purpose, precision, and unwavering self-assurance. Her body ached, but her spirit soared. She realized that true mastery was not only in hitting every target but in maintaining composure, adaptability, and resilience throughout continuous trials. As the day progressed, Emma encountered the most complex sequence. A series of targets that required rapid transitions, split-second timing, and strategic positioning. She advanced cautiously, each step calculated, each movement synchronized with her mental map of the course. Targets appeared and disappeared within seconds, and some required her to adjust for elevation or distance while maintaining accuracy under pressure. Emma's instincts guided her, her experience and training allowing her to anticipate target behavior and environmental variables almost effortlessly. She felt a profound connection to her rifle, as if it were an extension of herself, responding instantly to her decisions and movements. Every hit reinforced her confidence, every successful maneuver solidified her mental and physical control. By late afternoon, Emma had completed the entire exercise with remarkable precision. Her clothes were soaked with sweat, her muscles screamed in exhaustion, and her breathing was heavy, yet a profound sense of accomplishment enveloped her. Marcus approached, his gaze steady, and his expression revealing pride and respect. "Emma, what you have demonstrated today is exceptional. You have taken every lesson, every challenge, every doubt and transformed them into strength, skill, and resilience. You've mastered not just your rifle but yourself. That is the mark of someone extraordinary." Emma's chest swelled with emotion. She reflected on her journey, the days of being overlooked, the doubts she had battled, the relentless training, and the moments when she had questioned her own ability. Now, all of that culminated in a clear understanding. She had achieved mastery, but more importantly, she had discovered her own unshakable strength. As she packed her rifle and walked away from the range, the sun began to dip toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Emma felt a sense of peace and quiet triumph. The course had tested her in ways she had never imagined, revealing not only her skills but the depth of her perseverance and resilience. Each step she took was firm and purposeful, a reflection of her journey from doubt to mastery. She understood that her true strength was not defined by the recognition of others, but by the unwavering belief in herself, the courage to face challenges head-on, and the ability to rise above every obstacle with focus, skill, and determination. Emma had transformed from someone overlooked to someone unstoppable, her potential limitless, and her confidence unshakable. The path ahead would still hold challenges, but she was ready to face them all, armed with experience, skill, and the knowledge that she had become capable of achieving greatness. The following morning, Emma woke before sunrise, her body still recovering from the relentless exercises of the previous day, but her mind was alert, brimming with focus and anticipation. Today, Marcus had hinted, would not only challenge her physical precision but her ability to strategize under pressure and unpredictability. As she prepared her gear, double-checking her rifle and equipment, Emma reflected on how far she had come. Only a week ago she had been overlooked, underestimated, and filled with doubt. Now she carried a quiet confidence, built not on the praise of others, but on the rigorous discipline, persistence, and countless hours of focused practice that had transformed her skills and mindset. Each piece of her equipment was a tool of empowerment, each step she took toward the range a step into a version of herself that was stronger, sharper, and resilient beyond what she had imagined possible. Marcus met her at the edge of the range with a firm nod, his expression calm but commanding. Today we're introducing unpredictability at its highest level. You will face shifting targets, environmental challenges, and real-time decision-making scenarios designed to test not only your shooting accuracy but your capacity to adapt and act decisively. There will be no room for hesitation. Emma listened carefully, absorbing every word. Her pulse quickened, but there was no fear, only a steady, purposeful readiness. She understood that the journey from doubt to mastery required moments like this, where skill, focus, and intuition converged under intense pressure. She gripped her rifle, feeling the familiar weight and balance, and took her first deliberate steps into the course. The first segment of the exercise involved a series of moving targets positioned across uneven terrain. Emma advanced with precision, her stance low and steady as she shifted fluidly from cover to cover. Each shot required rapid calculation. Distance, trajectory, timing, and environmental factors such as wind and elevation. Emma's movements became a blend of instinct and training, each decision immediate and intuitive. She felt the rifle responding seamlessly to her commands, each shot reinforcing her focus and skill. Where she once would have paused in uncertainty, she now acted decisively, trusting both her instincts and her meticulous preparation. As she progressed, Marcus observed silently, noting her ability to maintain composure while simultaneously processing complex variables in real time. As the exercise intensified, Marcus introduced dynamic obstacles. Simulated gunfire, moving barriers, and environmental changes like dust and sudden shadows to test Emma's situational awareness. These distractions could have overwhelmed anyone unprepared, but Emma adapted with a calm precision. She adjusted her movements, repositioned her stance, and continued to engage targets accurately. Fatigue threatened to seep into her limbs, yet she embraced it, understanding that endurance was not simply about physical capacity but about sustaining focus, clarity, and resilience under stress. Each challenge she overcame reaffirmed her growth, the transformation from someone once ignored to a skilled, confident, and capable individual. Her muscles burned, her breathing was controlled but rapid, and her mind remained sharp, anticipating each new scenario before it unfolded. Hours into the course, Emma faced the most complex segment yet, a multi-level target system requiring rapid transitions between elevated platforms and ground-level positions, each presenting unique angles, distances, and obstacles. This was a test of memory, strategy, and adaptability as much as marksmanship. Emma moved methodically, calculating trajectories while maintaining continuous situational awareness. Each shot required split-second decisions and flawless execution. She adjusted for height, distance, and movement, her body moving in harmony with her mind. Marcus watched as Emma navigated the challenge flawlessly, her determination, focus, and skill merging into a performance that was both precise and fluid. The course had become a stage for her abilities, highlighting not only accuracy but her capacity for calm, strategic action under extreme pressure. As the day wore on, the final challenge involved combining everything Emma had learned: moving targets at varying distances, intermittent distractions, and a requirement for rapid decision-making with minimal margin for error. She advanced strategically, using cover and terrain intelligently, and engaged each target with unwavering accuracy. Her breathing, posture, and movements reflected the discipline and control she had cultivated over the past days. Emma could feel the growth in herself, not just in skill but in confidence, resilience, and the quiet certainty that she could rise to meet any challenge. Every successful shot reinforced the idea that mastery was not about perfection but about composure, persistence, and adaptability in the face of unpredictability. By late afternoon, Emma had completed the exercise. Her clothes were soaked, her muscles exhausted, but a profound sense of accomplishment enveloped her. Marcus approached, his expression softened by a rare smile. "Emma, you have surpassed expectations," he said, his voice steady and sincere. "Your skill, composure, and adaptability demonstrate a level of mastery few achieve. You've proven not only precision with your rifle but the ability to remain decisive, resilient, and focused under intense conditions. That is the mark of someone truly exceptional." Emma felt a wave of pride and fulfillment. She reflected on her journey, the moments of doubt, the initial disregard from others, the hours of grueling practice. and realized that each had contributed to her transformation. She had become someone capable, confident, and unshakable. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in gold and deep crimson, Emma packed her rifle and walked away from the range. Each step carried the weight of her achievement and the lightness of self-discovery. The challenges she had faced had shaped her, revealing strength, resilience, and skill that had once seemed unreachable. She understood that recognition from others was secondary. True mastery lay in unwavering self-belief, disciplined effort, and the courage to confront and overcome obstacles. Emma had proven to herself that she was no longer someone to be overlooked. She was prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with skill, determination, and the unshakable knowledge that she had become capable of extraordinary things. The path forward was still filled with unknowns, but Emma now carried the confidence, strength, and resolve to face them head-on, unstoppable, and resolute in her mastery of herself and her craft. The next day, Emma arrived at the range earlier than usual, the sky still painted with the pale colors of dawn. She felt a combination of anticipation and determination as she prepared her gear. Over the past week she had transformed, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and the challenges she had faced had sharpened her focus, endurance, and precision. Today, Marcus had promised, would test her in a way that combined every skill she had acquired, pushing her to integrate strategy, adaptability, and marksmanship into one seamless performance. She checked her rifle, inspected her ammunition, and mentally mapped the terrain. Each movement was deliberate, controlled, and confident. Emma had learned that mastery required patience and discipline, but also the ability to react instinctively when faced with unpredictable scenarios. Every prior exercise had built the foundation for this moment, and she was ready to confront whatever Marcus had designed. Marcus greeted her with a steady nod, his presence calm but commanding. "Today's course is designed to simulate real-life scenarios," he said. "You will encounter moving targets, environmental challenges, and complex sequences requiring immediate decision-making. Your goal is not only to maintain accuracy but to demonstrate your ability to adapt, strategize, and execute flawlessly under pressure. This is where skill meets resilience and where your training will be fully tested." Emma listened carefully, feeling the weight and importance of his words. Her heart raced, not from fear but from the thrill of challenge. She understood that this day could define her abilities and, more importantly, reinforce the confidence she had worked so hard to cultivate. She tightened her grip on the rifle, took a deep breath, and stepped onto the course with quiet determination. The first section of the exercise required Emma to engage targets that appeared at varying distances, some partially obscured by natural cover. She moved deliberately, using terrain to her advantage, crouching behind rocks and trees while maintaining constant awareness of the surroundings. Each shot demanded precise calculation, factoring in distance, wind, and angle. Emma's body responded fluidly to her intentions, her movements almost instinctive, the rifle an extension of herself. The targets required rapid succession firing, forcing her to balance speed with accuracy. Her breath was steady, her mind fully focused, and her confidence unshakable. As she successfully engaged each target, she felt a deep sense of affirmation. The hours of rigorous training and dedication were manifesting into tangible skill and mastery. As the exercise intensified, Marcus introduced moving targets and dynamic obstacles. Dummies shifted positions unexpectedly, and environmental conditions changed suddenly, simulating challenges one might encounter in real combat or high-stakes scenarios. Emma adapted seamlessly, adjusting her stance, repositioning her body, and recalculating her aim in real time. Her previous hesitations had vanished. Now she moved with decisiveness, anticipation, and precision. The combination of physical exertion and mental calculation tested her endurance, but she welcomed it, understanding that true mastery was measured not only by accuracy but by the ability to maintain composure and focus under pressure. Each successful engagement reinforced her confidence, and she felt a profound sense of empowerment with every calculated movement and precise shot.